So to start with, what are the probable solutions? I have to admit that there is no single approach in the world. There are many approaches, and as you will see that Latvia has a bit different approach from Estonia, but in fact we are very, very similar. We are, I think, the closest in thinking in cybersecurity, and we are moving closer and closer. About cybersecurity in Latvia, or as we call it, IT security, have to admit that for many years the interest of let's say the decision makers were not turned to the cybersecurity issues, and we started actively working 2009 when the Consultative Council for IT Security was established, and as one of the ideas at the end of the year 2009 was that we need a new law, but not for the sake of law, that it's not for the paper we need, that we need concrete steps to be taken. And we started to elaborate the law. It went quite hard, as it is with lawyers always, that they usually find more arguments against than for. And then came the NATO scandal, which it attracted much attention to the threats of cybersecurity. Looking back to the 2010, when this scandal came into the light, it felt like it's something awful, huge. But looking back, it doesn't look so dangerous anymore, because we have had many incidents which we have not discussed publicly, but that have been much more dangerous in Latvia. And as the NATO scandal came, also decision makers started to think of cybersecurity, and we managed to skip the cabinet of ministers to the law, and it went directly to the parliament of Latvia, which was quite interested in cyber issues. And the law entered into force in 1st of February 2011. So it's almost the 1 year and 1 month since it is in force, and I'll tell you a bit about the system that has been established by the law. But unfortunately, it might be a bit boring, but I hope I will be able to attract your attention to that. And then this explains all the system in Latvia and the way of thinking. And then first of all, I'd like to say that cybersecurity in Latvia, as we see it, it's security through cooperation. And by that I mean that there's no single authority, responsible for everything, because every institution, every organization, and every citizen has to think of cybersecurity itself. And we have some basic points in the law and in the system. First of all is the protection of critical infrastructure. So people usually speak much on the European level, what is critical infrastructure, how to protect it. In Latvia, the way we do is that we have identified concrete systems, networks, and other information technologies that are vital to existence of the society and state. And as we have identified them, they are obliged to assess risks, and when risks are assessed, to overcome that.
Maris, what does that mean in substance? What kind of providers are those?
Sorry?
What kind of providers are those in substance?
Didn't get you?
Critical infrastructure providers, what does that mean? I mean, it's a big mouthful if you haven't heard it before. What does that mean in reality?
Yeah, what does it mean? Unfortunately, I cannot explain in detail.
But who are critical infrastructure providers?
That is something I'm not able to tell you because this is official secret.
In general, I don't mean the companies. I mean, what types of companies?
Yeah, for example, usually people say that the energy supply is something that is critical, and if I would say that, some systems,
No, I didn't mean, I don't want to know which companies you've identified as critical infrastructure providers. We can talk about that later. I was just thinking, the first time I heard that, okay, critical infrastructure is a very general term. I was thinking maybe you could open up what that term means.
Yes, I'll try to. So first of all, it's usually those services that are critical to functioning of the state and society. So you can imagine that electricity supply, power, also food supply, banking, state information systems, local government information systems, and many others. But in Latvia, of course, it's the official secret. What is the content of that? Because if we had made it public, so you can imagine that it was, you know, interesting for some people to test them. So that is why I would not like to go much into the detail and move on to the next point, which is establishment of CERT-LV. This is currently the central organization in Latvia. The official name is IT Security Incident Response Institution, and it is located in the Institute of Mathematics and Computer Science of Latvia. And I'll turn a bit more attention to that in the next slide. We have also written in law the mandatory action in case of IT security incidents. So every single state and local government institution experiencing a IT security incident. It might be a technical, it might be a cyber attack. They have to report to CERT-LV. For that CERT-LV had the picture of the Latvian cyberspace, and also that they could help the institution and prevent similar attacks in other institutions. And next comes the minimal standards, or the basic standards for IT security, because 1 year ago, 1 year and 1 month before, we did not have any standards for state and local government institutions. We had some standards for the state information systems. They were approximately 170, but it was only a small portion, and it was very important to bring the basic standards to every institution we have. And then last but not least is the minimal standard, the basic standards for the electronic communications undertakings. That's in fact the ISPs, as they are called, internet service providers, without whom the internet would not function properly, or not at all. And the very last point is the National IT Security Council that I'm chairing currently. This is the way as we work the security through cooperation. We have many agencies. I will not spell all of them. As you can see, we have civil sector, we have military sector. My deputy comes from the National Armed Forces, and it is very, very important that all the institutions involved, and in fact every institution in the council, they have their role in cybersecurity, and it's not possible to concentrate them in one place. And currently the Ministry of Transport and Communications, by which I'm employed, leads the council, but that does not mean that the ministry is the monopolist on cybersecurity. And shortly about the IT Security Incident Response Institution, CERT-LV. Today is a big day for the institution because financial resources are tripled, 3 times more than last year, which is quite a good fact for us. When we started to work, it was quite hard. We had to prove that we need cybersecurity, that we need CERT-LV. And what it does, its primary tasks are to monitor the situation in virtual space, to have the picture, what's going on. Secondly is to respond to incidents, to respond itself, and to help other institutions, organizations, individuals to respond to incidents. Next comes the awareness raising, which is also a very, very important point that according to many opinions, uneducated individual is the biggest threat to systems, because you can build the safest, the most secure system on the world, but it's being used by individuals. As we have many examples, like we have quite good internet banking system, but if an individual receives an email that states, please send all your passwords, all your usernames, and the card, you have the numbers on it for identification, and he sends it, to to a criminal. And of course, the criminal uses this information to extract all the money from the account. So the most secure system with uneducated individual, it's very hard for that, and this is one of the tasks certainly works. Another point is, of course, exercises. Last year we had first technical exercises and first practical, not practical, but mostly like theoretical exercises on the decision-making level. And certainly currently, as tomorrow, it consists of 10 people. Initially, we were asked, what will they do? Will they, not be bored or something? And, it was quite hard to argue against that. And the best argument was that Estonians, they have 10 people. And we said that we also need 10 because Estonians have 10. And, this was quite a good argument because any other numbers or something, they didn't work that well. But Estonians, okay, so we must. And our perspective is that as there are more Latvians than Estonians, inhabitants, we need at least 15. And our purpose is from the next year to have 15. And we hope for additional 30% increase of the financial resources.
And then we can go to our minister and say, well, look, the Latvians have 15, how come we only have 10?
Okay, and it works well, this cooperation. And the financial resources for the first year, it was approximately 88,000 plats. So you can imagine that's not that much for this challenge. And the people that worked for the first year, they were like torn on all the sides because we had so much work. And as you can see the graph, we had, this is in fact not the latest one, but we had some 15,000 incidents per year. We had botnets, we had phishing, we had DDoS attacks, DOS attacks against state institutions, against banks. We got hacking, cracking, many types of incidents which are fortunately or not being discussed publicly. There are some which have been, and many have been prevented from becoming such. And this is the last slide. I will not bore you anymore and give space to my colleague afterwards. What's currently on the agenda, just to illustrate what we are working for. So first of all is, of course, the full implementation of the IT security law, because it's not easy that the law starts to work from the very first day, and even from the first year. So this is a big challenge in some aspects, so that the law operated, close to 100%. And a second point is further development of CERT-LV, because many people have not heard of that. And it's mostly because they had so much work that they didn't have much time for advertising themselves, to raising their image. And this is something we will work this year. Third point is the awareness raising activities. As I mentioned before, that uneducated individuals is quite a big threat. They have to work with schools, with children, with other people that used to publish unpolite pictures, and who do not understand that something is on the web. It's almost impossible to get it out of the internet. And there are many other examples that could be elaborated more in detail. Furthermore, we are working for amendments for the penal code and administrative violation code, because the problem is that small crimes, they cannot be penalized in Latvia. So if the harm is not, it's simply defacement of a website, if the harm is not significant, sorry, but you cannot be fined for that. And this is a problem, and we are working for that with a report going to the Cabinet of Ministers. Next is the intensification of the international cooperation. On January 20, we concluded the Memorandum of Understanding with NATO. And today also we discussed with Lucas Memorandum of Understanding among the Baltic states. And this is one of our priorities, to have trilateral Memorandum of Understanding among Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, because we are the closest neighbors and we have similar interests and we have to work on that. Almost the last point already is establishment of the National Cyber Guard, or voluntary organization. My colleague will probably tell a bit more about the organization made in Estonia, so I will not interrupt in that, but we are working also on that. And last but not least is the National IT Security Strategy that we are currently preparing. And it will state the main tasks, most probably for the next 5 or 10 years. What should be done and how can we develop the IT security in Latvia.